everybody's doing really good. We are back with another edition of KC Music Talk. We have kind of a special day today. We are here with a musician, band leader, and member of the Nebraska Country Music Hall of Fame, Maynard Zipf. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show. And also sitting with us is also Diana Foster, and so we've got grandpa, mother, and son here, so it's kind of a fun little interview we'll do for today. So you've been playing music about 1 million years, huh?
Right at that, yeah. Seems like it.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about how you kind of started and what so did you start on accordion?
Yes.
Yeah.
I started on a little 12-bass accordion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it, if I remember correctly, it was a Noble brand, but it was a good instrument. It wasn't a pile of junk like most of those 12 basses were. They none of them lasted very long. This thing lasted for years.
Wow.
I played it for a long time afterwards because that's all we could afford.
And so what year was that roughly?
Weren't you like 10? Didn't you say you were around 10 when you started
Yeah,
that?
I would think
10 years old or something?
8 or 10, somewhere in there.
So
I just
46?
couldn't-
1946 then,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Long
Cool,
time
yeah.
ago.
So what happened at that time? Did you like immediately start playing in bands, or were you just at home screwing around, or?
No, I'll go back to when I started the lessons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk about that.
The people that taught us in Fullerton, they were from South Dakota. They came through and sold this program if you bought their instrument. And if I remember correctly, my dad and mom paid I think it was $127 for that, and that was a lot of money back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was a little 12-bass. I think it was a Noble, and they gave lessons on Saturday morning in Fullerton, and I went for quite a while. I went with that 12-bass until I was through and was ready to get a 120 bass.
Mm-hmm.
And of course it was way more money and they couldn't afford that, and I just kept going with that.
Yeah.
Small.
Yeah.
Rig. And later on, when I had a job and got to making some money, I bought a 120 bass.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of Minnesota's big Brown music store up there in Minnesota, New Ulm.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So like you started on accordion, and then why did you decide to do so later on? Why did you decide to start doing like a family band?
Oh, well, because it was something that would help financially pay some bills, and I enjoyed it, and the kids get a lot of, we could afford to give them some money for helping play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you paid them, huh? It wasn't just child labor, huh? You actually paid them?
No, oh yes. What did we pay, about $20 a night or something?
I think I got $15 a night when we played it, and then on New Year's Eve we got more.
Oh yeah.
I happen to remember. Hey, one step in between the accordion and the family band, which wouldn't have started till considerably later, is you told me you got a Sears Roebuck guitar as a teenager. So that would have been between the accordion and going to...
Oh yeah. I think I was about 14 when I got that first guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean so there was a time there where you obviously like screwed around with guitar before you just decided to have a band, and all of a sudden I'm
Right.
gonna play guitar, you know?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So with the family band, like what was kind of the strength of your band, or like what kind of shows did you play, or like what was good about the band? Like, can answer that however you want.
We played music that they could dance to. It was a dance band. We played some country western music. We played some old dance, big ballroom dancing songs that were popular back in those days. I don't know what years that was, but
Late 60s, early 70s, when I joined.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good thing for the kids to make some extra money, and we enjoyed it. It was mostly in Iowa. Northwest Iowa was our stomping grounds. It was a nice situation for the family. Some people didn't really appreciate us taking the kids out into where they sold alcohol and things, but
you mean like other people in the community
yeah,
or whatever? Yeah.
They kind of got over it.
Yeah, because I mean, that's an interesting thing to think about, you know, because
Yeah.
a lot of you know,
they didn't.
don't do
There
that.
was some people that didn't think that was a thing to do, but it apparently didn't affect the kids negatively.
Yeah.
They all done well and didn't hurt them a bit.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of an interesting thing, because we talk about that. We've talked about stuff like that on the show, where the purposes for doing things, you know, and the people that are arguing with you are saying that it's detrimental, right? And you have just a different perspective on the benefits of it, you know. So like you mentioned a little bit about the money. Was there anything else that you can kind of think about why you wanted the family to have a band? Like,
Well, I don't know. I think back and I don't know why we did it. I guess for ourselves, we thought it would help our band have some of the kids in it, I guess.
sure.
I think one of the things with families, if you think about lots of other groups that have families, like your voices are always going to blend more than people who aren't familial. They're not in families. That's why there's been family bands for years. The Johnny
Osmonds,
Cash,
Jacksons,
right?
yeah,
Because
Jackson 5.
families their voices are alike. So singing wise, you're always going to sound as good or better than you do with other people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it gave them a little extra spending money
Right.
that we didn't have to give them.
it's also a way to pass down tradition. If your families are very musical, you like the fact that your children might have that ability and
Yeah.
get to learn and pass down tradition.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm kind of trying to get at.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah,
Like his dad was musical.
and my dad played piano and a violin, I think. I never did ever see it. I never saw his violin. I don't know, but that was before I was
Yeah.
very old to know any better.
yeah.
But I know I think he played mandolin too, some. He was not a great musician, but neither was I.
Yeah, Hall of Fame. I don't know about that. Yeah. So like, maybe last question on the family band is, was there something that was kind of challenging about the band, or was there something that was kind of tough in regards to running the family band, or just running your band in general? And
No, it wasn't a problem. No, I never had any problem. The kids, they didn't especially like it to start with, but eventually they didn't mind it so bad. I don't think.
Yeah, and maybe you can comment on that. I mean, I know that I bet we've joked on when you did your interview about dating dating the Zip girls, right? How they have to date on Sunday, right? Because they're always playing Saturday and Friday night. You know, I don't know. Maybe you could answer that.
Well, I just remember him coming and asking if we wanted to join the family, or it wasn't a family band yet, if we wanted to join him and play, because you'd been playing with another band, you know, some other guys, and I remember thinking on Friday and Saturday, like on a night we might get to start dating on those nights, like be with your parents, and but then we took a few lessons and started, and I really enjoyed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good experience for the kids. I don't think it hurt them a bit, but they were always well behaved. I didn't have to worry about them. They didn't mind it too bad.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they got a little spending money out of it, so it was okay.
That's cool.
We watched them. You know, they didn't have to worry about. Once in a while, there might be a person out there that was making some bad remarks or something, but
That's where I learned a polka. On break time, they'd start the jukebox, and then a lot of the people that were in the crowd were friends of the family, and so we'd dance with some of them. We learned how to polka.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so cool. So I guess the next thing I'd love to talk to you a little bit about is, and this is a topic that I'm really fascinated by, is just gigging in general, like with, in regards to like the running of a band and how, what it was like in the 70s and then what it's like now. So like, what was the kind of quality of the other bands that were in the area? Like was there kind of high competition in that area in Northwest Iowa, or how was that like?
Yes, it was. There were some good bands, some bands that were better than we were. They, you know, had more experience and stuff, but we just did the basic country songs and tunes. We did okay. We had plenty of work. It seemed like it was okay.
Yeah, and then so that's my next question. So how much did you guys play? I mean, what does that mean? We had a lot of work.
Once a week. Saturday night.
And there were times we were playing Friday and Saturday when
there was some
kind of in the 70s. I remember playing sometimes a couple times a week, but a lot once a week.
Yeah, we played on Friday nights. Once in a while we'd get a private party or something, and those are nice, as you know.
Oh yeah,
you do them. And we had some tough nights.
Well, what does that mean? Please tell more.
We had some tough nights.
Low attendance, you know, maybe not that many people there. That's pretty common with all bands.
Well, sure. It's same thing today. Yeah, you don't have good nights all the time.
Yeah, and that was the attendance was another thing, because like definitely when I talk to a lot of the 50 and 60-year-olds, they're always rubbing it in that the good old days and all this stuff, back. It was so much better in the 70s and 90s and and now today yada yada, and they start talking all that kind of stuff, and there's this kind of mythological thing that happens when you talk about those days, and they're always talking about, oh man, the bar was full every night, and and we got paid $300, now we get paid $300 still, and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I guess I'm asking, like, in general, how was the attendance? What was at like bars specifically? Was it packed, or was it?
Sometimes we had packed houses. Sometimes it was pretty good. We didn't have television, and that was a big thing. Television now is taking a toll on live music.
Oh yeah.
Even to this day.
I think you played for just as many, like, to me, the years I played, you played for just as many private parties as public bookings in a bar, like wedding dances and anniversary dances and birthday parties and retirement parties. I remember playing for a lot of those, and those have really big attendance because it's a wedding or it's an anniversary. Everybody in the county comes.
That's right.
So I remember playing for a lot of those they'd rent the Knights of Columbus or a hall like that.
Yeah, we didn't have too much trouble having crowds on Saturday night because we didn't have the competition that's out there now.
Yeah. And what do you mean by that? Do you mean like TV and internet and yeah?
But we had other bands that were very good. There were some good bands. Always is. You have competition, and you have trouble with lead players leaving you, and I was a rhythm guitar player more or less. You played keyboard.
Bass first and then keyboard.
Yeah, bass guitar. So it was a learning experience, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. So talk about that a little bit, because I think about that a lot, because when I ran my own band, you know, definitely getting the players was, you know, it was very annoying sometimes, right? And I mean, so talk about that, losing the guitar player or whatever, or like.
Well, you always have trouble if you got a good lead player, like good lead guitar. We weren't quite the quality that some of them wanted, and they'd leave you for another band, and there you are. I had that happen.
So there's another advantage of your family band versus is everybody in the family's gonna come and show up. And
you're not gonna fire your own kid.
Yeah. You could.
But you got everybody in house. Yeah.
So I've had that happen. I've lost a lot of musicians over the years. Went to another band. And fine, but we're friends yet. That's business. You know, somebody's always better than you are. You're not always the best. But if you do basic stuff and the crowd likes your music for dancing, you'll survive.
And that's something interesting too. You just said is that what happens after that. You know, you just talked about we're still friends, and I know in Kansas City there's, you know, we have everything here. I mean, so you know, they disown you or whatever. I'm never playing with that guy again, or you know, there's nothing personal. I mean,
it shouldn't be, but it for the leader of the band, it's hard to lose a good musician because he was helping you all the time to where you were at too. I mean, you can't have everything. You can't have everybody that's going to play the way you want them to play, or it's a tough business.
Yeah, sure, it is a tough business. Yeah, and so when you're dealing with that kind of mentality, what did you do as a band leader? Because you just said something interesting about you basically don't always get what you want. I mean, it's kind of what you're saying, I think, with the quality, or like, what did you have moments where you had a guy that was totally not cutting it? You know, I mean, they wouldn't show up on time, or they were a really bad player, or like, how did you handle that?
I never really had most of the people were
pretty responsible.
Responsible, and most of them were the family. Although we had a bass player, farmer, bass player.
And your guitar player, the band that you had before, Harvey and what was his name?
Harvey Buckendahl.
Yeah, but the lead guitar player, Dave.
Oh yeah.
That was the band right before
I
joined.
had a lead guitar player, and of course he left because he was very good. He played.
He started his own band then.
Yeah,
didn't he?
Started his own band, and it hurt us some, but you survive.
Yeah.
And I still see him once. I haven't seen him for a long time, but we're friends yet.
Yeah.
That's just the way life is. You're going to lose somebody. They'll go to a better band, or maybe you're not playing the type of music they like to play. So they just leave you.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, I guess maybe last question on that is that at that time in northern Iowa, was there quite a few of these random musicians around? Was it quite a few musicians?
Yes, there was quite a few of them. Good musicians. There were some very good musicians up there. There is everywhere you go. You find real good musicians. We had a good time at it. I had some tough times too. Had a few fights in bars. So,
How was that?
well, we played in a town called Holstein, and it was called Hooterville. And the guy that owned it was a little short guy that had a neck on him about that big,
Yeah.
and he had a daughter that was bartending, and she was having a little trouble with this one patron in the bar. He'd been drinking, and he was bothering her quite a bit, and kind of got on her nerves. And her dad was behind the bar, and he'd seen it all, and he was getting about up to her, taking it. He didn't come. When he decided he was going to do something about it, because this guy was over in a booth, and he didn't come around the bar. He come over it.
Yeah, yeah.
He leaped over the bar. And he was just a short guy too. He leaped over the bar, and he went over and grabbed that guy by the nape of the neck and drug him right in front of the band on the floor, and they started fighting. And he'd ask, after he'd get done whacking him a few times, he'd ask him if he had enough, and the guy says, "Yeah, I've had enough." And then he'd pop him on. And they went on, and the blood was flying around, and I mean, they mopped up the blood with a mop. And they drug him outside into the alley.
Oh man, that is funny. So right in front of the band, right?
Yes,
I mean,
right in
there.
front of the band. And Harvey was playing bass, and he just kept backing up. He was afraid he was going to get on him and hurt his instrument. And it was a mess. I've never seen anything like it.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Oh.
Was that a kind of? Did you guys play in quite a few like real rough bars like that, or?
We played some rough bars.
Yeah.
All bars can get rough.
Yeah.
It depends on the crowd. It's not the place of business problem. It's the who's in there.
Yeah, right.
The troublemakers are hiding there for a while until they get enough alcohol in them.
So like, I mean, was that like a monthly thing, or it probably wasn't that frequent?
No,
like
it was
something
just
like that.
It was a normal Saturday night dance.
A normal Saturday.
It didn't happen all the time.
That one was pretty unusual. I think they're probably still talking about that one.
They're probably, yeah. Because I know in Kansas City, I mean, we don't have a pretty rough city like that. I mean, that's really unusual to have like a big bar fight like that or something.
That was bad.
Yeah. Did you ever see any like straight up full like whole bar like fighting?
No.
You ever see anything like that?
No, we never seen that. This was just two guys that just hated each other.
For a moment, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
for a little
funny.
while.
I find that stuff just funny. I mean, hearing about old band stories.
It was
cracks me
real.
up.
That was real. I mean, it was right in front of us.
Yeah.
And every time the guy, the guy on top was the bar owner, and he'd say, "Have you had enough? And are you going to behave?" And the guy'd say, "Yeah," and then he'd let him go, and then he'd whack him on.
That's funny.
Oh, it was I'll never forget that.
So, So I guess the next thing I'd love to ask you is, when I teach a lot of my students, we're playing off of music, you know, in orchestra and stuff like that. But you've been basically playing by ear for a really long time. Can you talk about a little bit like playing by ear and why that's good or bad, or what's your thought on that?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't very good at reading music when when I started with that group out of South Dakota. We had to read notes, and I can't read a note now. I wouldn't know how to do it, but it's a way to get started. It's the way to.
You mean playing by ear?
Yeah. To start by notes.
Yeah.
The accordion is the greatest instrument for that, for learning to play by ear, because the chord structure on an accordion is great. You've got your key of C has got a little dent in it, and then everything above C is sharps, and everything below that are flats, and it's
On
fabulous.
the button side of it, you're talking.
Yeah, on the bass side.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous instrument to learn, because that goes right with guitar playing. Those chord structures, the way they got it put together on the left side of accordion is perfect for you to remember.
And a lot of people don't know really anything about an accordion, and they see it, but they don't really know. So you're playing bass on those buttons, and then you're doing everything else on the keyboard, right?
Melody on the keyboard.
Yeah. Melody, keyboard side, and the bass side is 120 buttons over. That's what they call it, for the 120.
Right.
But it's easy to find. You put your hand through the strap and feel for that indentation on that. It's right in the middle.
Middle C.
And everything below that's flats, and everything above that is sharps, and G and D and A and E and.
Yeah.
I think a little bit of what I hear you saying is that if you want to learn theory and all that, the accordion's or piano is a really good way to understand theory and chording.
The accordion is even the best instrument for that, because it's all in a row. You know, well, it is on piano too, you know, I guess, but it's a little different on piano. This is so easy to understand, the system.
Yeah.
The accordion system. It helps somebody that doesn't play all by. If you're going to play by ear, it really helps that. Because I can even use it to this day. The fact that I say, I wonder where that chord is, and then I remember where they're all in order over there. And dance tunes always went up into sharps and then just slipped one by one back. And they still do. I mean, the old dance tunes are still written that way.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, like, did you find that playing by ear made your life kind of easy sometimes, like as a band?
Oh yeah, you can take your eyes off of the music. I mean, it comes out of your head then.
Because you can read like chords, right? I mean, you're seeing G minor and C. But that's reading, right? I mean, that's reading chord charts.
Oh yeah, I use that up to this day. If I'm learning a new song, if I have them written down in C and G and A and E and B flat and that stuff, I can read my own writing.
Most of the time.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool, and I just know that I'm so glad that I started ear training, you know, as a very young kid, and it was, you know, great idea on your part to go with the Suzuki, because, I mean, did you guys ever have? I'm sure this happened a ton, where people came up and like gave you a request, right? And you've like never even played the song before, and then you're just like, okay, and
if you can sing it, you can play it. I mean, if you can sing the melody, why, then you can play that song. You may not play it exactly right, but
Mm-hmm. You can kind of find your chords as you go, right? But you got to have that melody first. And yeah, that's cool. Was there something that you wish you would have done, like over your life musically? Like, you can answer that however you want, or nothing maybe. But was it like lessons or learning to read or playing more shows, or I mean, you can answer however you want.
I wished I would have learned playing by note a little more, a little longer in that, because it would have helped me. I wished I could read notes, but I can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's so cool because there's some people that can't play by ear.
Yeah.
You know, and just like some ear players can't read, you know, and I, in my opinion, I think you're so much more open if you can play by ear, because you can literally do everything. But if you're playing by sheet music, you gotta have the music.
If you don't have your sheet music, you can't play anything.
Oh yeah, you can. If you don't know the song real well, you can fake it and make it sound right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sounds pretty good. Better than nothing.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, maybe just a couple more here for you. So, did you have any experiences like with club owners, like guys who ran the club? Because you were first of all, were you booking your own band?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you did that, not somebody else in the band. So. I guess why I'm asking this question is because I'm fascinated with how you talk to club owners, because there's a lot of people that have different styles. Some guys come up to them and basically give them the, hey, we're really good. When do you want us? Not if, when. You know, you come at them strong, and then there's other guys where you want to, you know, butter them up with some jokes first, and then they like you. Then you come at them with, you know, did you have any like theories on that, or any ways that you tended to?
Well, usually when you go to get paid, you ask if you have any more dates that you would like, or something like that. I learned a lesson once, hard lesson, that you don't, at the end of the night, you don't, and if you're playing a club, you do not tell the audience where you're going to be the next week. I got chewed out really good. For that. They said, the owner, when he went to pay me, he says, you don't ever do that. I says, okay. Yeah, because I still remember that, because there's a few bands that are still doing that. And you know, they usually the owner isn't there, or he's home in bed. He's got somebody.
And the waitresses don't care,
no,
right?
They don't care. But I can see their point of view. You don't want to advertise up there where you're going to be the next week. That hurts our business.
Right.
But I learned that the hard way. Ooh, he was pretty upset.
Oh sure, yeah. I don't blame him. I mean, we think that we're this great music community and we're all friends and stuff. Well, they aren't. You know, they're the club owners.
It's competition to them, and so you don't advertise the competition for them.
So in regards to that, how did you deal with like money? Like talking to them about how much we're gonna get paid tonight, because that's always a huge thing, right? I mean,
I just can't remember now whether, or I think we always knew what before we got there, or what we were supposed to get. You know, when I booked the job, I think they told me how much they paid.
Yeah, I guess I'm talking about right at that moment though, not after you've decided with the bar owner. I'm talking about before you've decided with the bar owner. Like when you're coming up to them and they're like, oh well, you know, well we can only give you like $1, you know, and you're like, well, we're worth $3, you know, and you have that do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
oh, I see.
It's probably kind of a going rate that a lot of them got.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
All I can say, I remember the days that they were paying good money because there wasn't a competition. Once TV came in, it just
Well, I
hurt.
think back to that question was asked earlier, and it relates to this one, is the entertainment for people was to go out on Saturday night. They weren't
absolutely.
sitting at home watching cable TV. We had 2 channels.
Right.
So your entertainment, so those bar owners were able to fill their bar because everyone wanted to dance, everyone wanted to listen to music, and there wasn't a lot of other things to do. So people were, that was their one night out, and it was fun, and it was packed.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
they were able to pay, you know.
There was some, good pay and jobs back in the 60s and 70s because you had what kind of a crowd would you call it?
Knuckleheads. I'm just kidding.
Well, people weren't going to the movie.
You didn't have the competition of the movie houses and
TV
and the TV.
Right.
And I bet that, you know, obviously, you know, people having 9 drinks at the bar too was no biggie, you know, so everybody was probably spending a lot, you know. Now that today everybody's, you know, kind of, especially this happens a lot at the jazz clubs where before, like in the 20s, it was a lot of rough places that was jazz, but now jazz is like this you know, not going with your tie necessarily, but it's kind of an upscale kind of thing. So everybody's going in there, they have their 1 or 2 drinks and then they leave, you know. So it's not, there's never fights at jazz clubs here.
Is that right?
Ever, you know. I mean, because it's just not that kind of crowd anymore. In the 20s, it was, from what I hear.
Yeah,
you know?
the 20s were wild. I wasn't around, but they were wild.
But yeah, so I guess like I'm just always fascinated by that because it's kind of like you're being, because at that point when you're talking to the club owner, you have to be a salesman for your band.
That's
right. Is kind of what I'm trying to get at is that, like, because my buddy that I have, he goes in and he just charms them up, you know. He gives them some jokes, makes them laugh, makes them like you, and then he's like, oh well, you know what, we have this band, and you know, and da da da, and then all of a sudden he's buttered him up real good, you know, and then other guys go in real hard and they're like, you know what, we have this band, we're playing, we've got 30 shows booked in the next da da da, we're really great, when do you want us, you know, and like, and you know,
yeah, it depends on how you like to advertise yourself.
And he already said that, or I chimed in with that you know, 30 to 50% of his gigs were an individual hiring him for a private party. So that was different than approaching a bar owner.
Right.
Now they might have had their party in the bar, but they were booking him and hiring him and saying what they pay for the barn dance or you know, pig roast or an outdoor gig or a wedding or an anniversary or birthday party.
Right.
So that was a little bit different.
Yeah, because at that point you'd be only talking really about money at that point. You're not trying to convince them that you're good for their bar if it's a private party, right? You already know the person, right? They've already asked you to play, I guess.
The other thing I think is a little bit easier to book back then because everybody in the county knew the bands who were there. They knew the people. They worked with them, and you didn't have to go cold call to somebody. Everybody knew who the available bands were, and they would say, "This is, we want him. We've booked this hall, and we want you to play there." So it's a little bit different than a big city where that you have to go on a cold call to a club or whatever.
Yeah, they knew all the bands, and they knew their names, and they knew who they were.
What type of music they played, and
it was an experience.
Yeah. Did you guys have, was it mostly country around there, or was there a lot of, like, dance bands, but not country, like the pop stuff? What was the...
There was mostly country.
country. Polka band.
There was some big bands that played polkas, and there were some good musicians.
Mostly country.
Yeah, it was mostly country.
Country and rock. Country rock.
Yeah.
A lot of rock too.
When David Tamil was playing with us, he played a lot of
rock and roll songs.
And they're easy to follow. I mean, you don't have to be, but they're pretty hard to play on guitar if you don't know. I mean, the rhythm is always easy, but the lead part is pretty hard on guitar. Now, keyboard, there you go, right? It's simple. I mean, well, it ain't simple, but it's a lot easier on keyboard for me to play that stuff than it is guitar.
Right.
I never was a good lead player on guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know you and I have talked about this before, where because you're obviously a big fan of country music, but how would that go when she comes over and brings you a pop tune that you wanted to play? Because I know you've talked about that, where it's
we did that.
Yeah.
We brought a few songs that we wanted to do.
I never was that good at it.
Well, you were talking to me about the olden days where you're sitting there and you said something like, "Go get me the lyrics" or something, and so you're sitting there with the record player, right?
Yeah.
You're telling me about
My sister and I, we would go buy the 45 because they weren't very 45 record, and we got the lyrics off the 45 because we didn't need the sheet music if you don't read sheet music. So we got the lyrics off the 45. So we're sitting there with the needle on the wait, stop, because one of us is writing and one of us is getting the lyrics, and then talk about pass down a little theory, then you would say, go write the chords on it now, because if you knew you kind of wanted to sing in the key of D, because that was a good key, then he'd say, go write the chords out to it. Now, I sang in choir, so I could read treble clef, so sometimes I would go get the sheet music, and it would have the guitar chords, but it might not be in the key he wanted it in, so then we'd need to write but same thing, if I wanted to figure out the key that you wanted, I'd go over to the piano and figure out what the chords were for those lyrics. So that's how we just figured it out.
So I got two more questions for you. One, I know you and I have talked a lot about the kind of state of country music today or whatever, because I know you're a huge fan of traditional country. Can you talk about that? Because we've had some good conversations about that before.
I'm a good fan of traditional. And there's still a lot of people, but they're older. I mean, the younger people, some of them like traditional, but there's a lot of people that don't care for the traditional country anymore. But we've got some fantastic musicians out there that are doing a good job of everything. Some of the people on TV are doing a good job of traditional even.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, what are some of the differences? I guess we've had that conversation of traditional country and then the new country, like musically. What are some of the differences there?
Oh, they're completely different. I mean, they're opposite. I just don't like the way they're put together.
So what? I guess I'm trying to get you to be more specific. I guess because you talked to me one time about lyrics, right? How some of that the new songs are. I think I remember you saying that the lyrics now are still pretty strong, but it was like all the music stuff. I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but at one time I think you remember me saying that it's still all about the words. But what about the rhythms and the notes that they're playing or whatever? Can you kind of express that in any way of why you don't like it?
I don't know why I don't like it. I just don't like the sound of it. I like the rhythm. If it isn't danceable, it's not my bag anymore, because that's what I was as a dance band. If you don't have the rhythm of dance rhythm,
swing or whatever.
Yeah, but some of the music is pretty good nowadays. I don't mind. I kind of like some of it, but
think part of it might be like, it seems like the new country, I would guess maybe something you wouldn't like about it, it's a little bit closer to pop or rock than it was what the traditional, to me, when
Yeah,
I
see,
was,
that's what I'm trying to
to
get
me,
at. Is like,
that's
yeah.
what I would
Yeah,
see
it's
you
like-
probably wouldn't like about it as much as it's more pop and rock oriented than it is traditional, simple tunes, simple lyrics, simple rhythm.
I like the rock and roll of the 50s and 60s, and that
Yeah.
wasn't country at all.
No.
Right.
I love that stuff, and I still like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But it's a definite rhythm, and it's put together quite a bit like the traditional country is.
Yeah.
Only it had a stronger beat, and it was a different kind of a dance.
Yeah.
They danced different to the
Rock and roll.
Yeah, rock and roll.
See, something that you just kind of reminded me of is every time that we have played, you know, obsessed is a bad word, but you've been very conscientious about this is a two-step, this is a cha-cha, this is a waltz, and then now hearing you talk a lot about that I am a dance band musician, sort, you know, kind of categorizing yourself a little bit. Is that maybe a little bit what you don't like about the new country? Is it doesn't, you know, it doesn't have any of those rhythms, right? It's
I
like
think
rock.
so.
That's what you're trying
I
to talk
think
about.
so.
It's that
Definitely.
they're doing rock rhythms. They're
Yeah.
not doing two-step.
Or
And
pop.
like,
Yeah,
It's not, yeah,
yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's exactly it,
Yeah, that's exactly
or a big
it.
part of it.
yeah.
I like a rhythm that makes some kind of sense.
What happens at the American Legion if you don't play a whole bunch of waltzes?
They
What do
come
they,
request
what do
a
they start
waltz.
doing?
They come up and request a waltz,
Well, yeah,
probably.
I played American Legion in North Platte once, and if you didn't play cab driver, you didn't get paid.
Yeah, wow.
I mean,
Wow.
that's how that was like the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, right.
They somehow or other they'll fill the floor
Right.
for that song.
They're all like, shh, you're gonna play a two-step right now. you're gonna start playing waltzes right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Quite a business.
Yeah. What? You got anything else you can think of that we haven't really talked about?
Well, one thing I was thinking of that is kind of interesting, me observing him playing, because most of his 60 years of playing, I wasn't with him, just for those years that I played, is that he started on keyboard, accordion, and then piano. He had the guitar and learned that. And then a lot of his years of a four-piece band, he was on rhythm guitar. But now as a senior and in his later years, he's back to the keyboard. So that's an interesting thing to me, that as a solo person or you know, a duo or a soloist, you've gone back to your roots of the piano. You haven't played guitar for years.
Oh.
You're back to a keyboard that you can be a solo artist with the rhythms and the voices on the guitar
So
or on the piano.
why are you playing piano mostly right now?
Well, because I have bass, and I have treble, and I have rhythm.
You can be a one-piece
I
band.
can be I could go out and play a dance all alone, because it's all there.
And then you sing. You always sing.
Yeah,
So
and you sing with it. It's a great instrument.
it's kind of a full circle.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
A little bit. Started
You
there.
started on piano and accordion, and then came all the way back to it eventually in the end. Yeah.
I played with some really good musicians. I learned a lot from some of the other musicians. There's some good guitar players out there. We just lost one of them not long ago. Played excellent guitar, and he played banjo too. I didn't even know that. I never
Who's
knew
that?
until he was on his deathbed. I didn't know that he played banjo. I never heard him do it before. I'm not a stringed instrument. I don't know strings very good. Anybody can learn guitar, just rhythm, but to play lead on it is another thing.
Yeah. You can think of,
You're a string person.
I'm definitely a string person.
Yeah.
Proud of it, but
No, nice.
yeah. I guess the last thing is, can you think of any other kind of really silly moments in the music business? Any other stories of random gigs that were just ridiculous or?
Well, the only other time was when we went to the lakes,
Yeah,
Okoboji,
yeah.
and we pulled up with the band who was going to play.
At one of the resorts there. I
Yeah,
think.
at a big resort, in what was it? The name of the place?
New Inn.
Yeah, the New Inn. Still there, I'm sure.
It is.
And we pulled up there, and I says, "Boy, where are we gonna
Set up.
Where are we gonna set up?" And Harvey was the bass player was in there, and he was always worried about where he was gonna be. And I said, or he said, "Oh, look, we're gonna be playing along the pool there, on the north side of the pool." And I says, "Harvey, I don't think so. They got a walkway out into the water." And we played out on the water. And we drug those cords and stuff out there in the middle of the. You were there.
Yeah.
Why? We'd have been all
Oh,
dead
crazy.
if we.
Yeah, that caves in.
Yeah. Oh, it was something else. I'll tell you, Harvey was like this all the time. Just, he was scared.
Oh, I would be too.
I don't know how they got by with that. I mean,
That was
I'm
a
sure-
long time ago.
Yeah,
You
I'm
could do lots of stuff.
Yeah, dragging 110 volts out
Yeah.
there, well, that's risky business.
Mm-hmm.
We had amplifiers and drivers and everything here.
Worked out okay, but
Oh.
Yeah, wow.
But he thought when we pulled up, there was a little dance floor along the edge or something they could use for a dance floor. He says, "That's what we're going to play on, I think." I said, "I don't think so. I think it looks like they've got us set up out there in the middle of the pool." And we were. It was kind of scary. I don't think I'd have the guts to do it.
no.
That's crazy. I mean, like, I can't.
Well, I
can't
don't
even
know
imagine
what
that.
they thought about the liability out there on that.
They didn't.
Well, it
evidently.
was 70s. There wasn't liability,
Yeah.
right?
That was before OSHA.
Yeah. Boy, that was scary.
Yeah, wow.
We were that far from the water.
Yeah.
This thing was only about that high above the water.
I remember it. Yeah.
Wow.
There we was out there planking away.
But that's I guess we'll finish up with that. Is this the times are just plain different now.
Oh,
There's all sorts of stuff that you could get away with in the 20s and 70s and whatever, and now it's just plain different.
A lot more rules now.
Yeah, a lot more.
But
rules.
I never did ever have to play behind a screen.
Yeah,
I've never there are certain places in the United States to this day that
the
they
chicken
have,
wire.
they have
Yeah,
chicken wires so the beer bottles don't come
Yeah.
conking you on the head.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy when you hear guys with stories like
Because
that.
I've got some friends in our town right now that have played out in Montana and some of those rough bars out there, and there's chicken wire, yeah.
That's funny, right? That's straight out. I mean, Blues Brothers, right? I mean, somebody didn't come up with that. They experienced
No.
that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, true.
That's just funny.
Yeah.
But in general, I guess on behalf of both my mom and I, would definitely thanks for being such a good music inspiration to our family. Obviously,
Well,
you can see the your dad, you, mom, me, and then now my brother's kid Maverick plays cello. I mean, we got this 5-generation thing happening here with music, and that's just really neat.
That's good. Well, thanks for the interview.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you very much. So, that's KC Music Talk. We'll be back another time with more interviews and more good music discussion. So, Dinah Foster, Maynard Zipf, Rob Foster. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.